up, everybody? Yes, it's that time of the week again, bitch. That's right. Welcome to another exciting episode of Old School New School Comedy Podcast. And I am your shit-talking host, Christy Miller. And this week, I have a very dear friend of mine. I know I say that every fucking week. Who the fuck am I talking to? He's a really dear friend. I love him. He's part of my Comedy Store family in Los Angeles, California. He's just now graduating into like veteran status. He's 15 years in. He's hilarious. He's actually dually based in Austin, Texas to Los Angeles, California, where he's always at the Mothership, you know, Joe Rogan's club. And he just finished featuring for Harlan Williams this past weekend there. And he's hilarious and he's one to keep an eye on. So I want you guys to meet my dear friend, Mat Edgar.
Christy Miller, thank you so much for having me.
Oh,
wait, I gotta correct you. One thing about that intro, though, and I know this will mean a lot. This will mean a lot to you. I am a 17-year veteran.
Ooh, yeah.
You're off by 2, and you know that 2 years in the comedy game is a long time. A lot of people don't make it past 2 years.
Yeah, and 2 years is like dog years. Like you can hit 15 and then you hit 17 and you're like, whoa, 17, bro? Like what?
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. I can't believe there's people that have literally, they're 17-year-olds that, you know, their entire life I've been out there doing this shit.
Yeah.
Is that crazy? Have you met a comedian who's like somebody you look up to? Like when I met Bill Burr told me a long time ago, he told me, we did the math. He's been doing stand-up as long as I've been alive.
Yeah.
Is that fucking nuts? So every memory that I have for my entire life, Bill Burr was in some club that night.
Yep. The moment you fell out of your mother's pussy, Bill Burr was doing a half hour.
Was making fun of pussy, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
Well, I meet these kids here in New York that are like 23 and 24. And I was like, bitch, I'm doing this 28 years. And you're going to tell me what to do? Get the fuck out of my face.
Insane. I know. I mean, I guess because you're in New York, you have that. It's so eclectic there. There's people from all different ages. I always love the guys in New York that grew up in New York. Isn't that kind of crazy? 'Cause I grew up in LA. And I started in LA. So there's very few people that start stand-up, you know, in their hometown, and their hometown being one of the two major scenes, you know?
Yeah, because I'm from San Francisco, but I started in LA. So it's basically just down the street.
Did you ever, did you do stand-up in San Francisco in the beginning? I'm sure you made your way back there, but.
I have, but I never started there. I didn't start until I went to LA. And my friends, because I always wanted to do this, you know, like since I was like 5, 6, 7 years old, I'd watch Showtime. You know, it was like a nighttime channel back then. And and then HBO came out a couple years later, and they had these, and Showtime had this show called The Big Laugh Offs. Like there was a San Francisco Big Laugh Off, the Chicago Big Laugh Off, the Los Angeles Big Laugh Off, the New York Big Laugh Off, and I think there was a Miami one too. I can't remember. I was a kid. What do I know? But I remember the San Francisco one. It was Marsha Warfield, Ollie Joe Prater, the Reverend George Wallace, and Johnny Dark.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when I went, oh, my God, I need to be this.
That's crazy. So wait, are those guys from there?
No.
They just that was the one that they got. Like they got booked on the San Francisco one. Interesting.
Yeah, because those guys were all Comedy Store people.
Sure. Yeah. I love some of the Bay Area comedians. One of my favorite comedians is Al Madrigal. You know Al Madrigal? He's a Bay Area guy. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and they create.
Bobby Slayton was a Bay Area guy too. Remember him?
It's interesting how, of course, certain places, like multiple great comedians come from there. It's like the water or something.
Yeah. Well, San Francisco, it's all the cocksucking. Thank you. I'll be here all week.
They're great. Gays are great stand-ups. Gay people are just more talented. Yeah, I think it's because my theory has always been that when you're a hetero dude, like there's a little bit for me, like, I'm only speaking for me, but I'd say like there's a little bit extra machismo that goes into being a straight man that I think keeps us a little bit a tad tighter. And I don't think gays necessarily have that. So they're just, it's so much easier. Just natural performers.
Well, yeah. My theory is that they've tapped into a different part of their brain because they're wired different. So they have that freedom in that part that a lot of us Neanderthals, us knuckle draggers, don't tap into.
They're actually more evolved. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, they have the best of both worlds. They could be a drama queen like a woman, but they can take a dick like a man. Nothing? Come on, people. This is great.
Nobody else here.
Shit here.
Christy,
I yell at the invisible people.
Yeah.
I know. I always yell at the invisible crowd around me.
Somebody at home's laughing.
They really aren't.
This is a serious podcast.
Okay. I'm just a big piece of shit. No one takes me serious. But so you're 17 years in now. That's so. How long have I known you now? Because when I met you, you were like 13 in.
Man, okay. I know 14? What year I met you. I met you 2019.
Right.
Because
so
I remember
that's almost 5 years ago.
So what is
2024 now? So like 17, maybe 4.5 years.
So I was probably like closer to like 12 years into stand-up when I met you. Yeah. But I met you knowing of you because you're a Comedy Store OG. So when you go through the Comedy Store system and you you're a door guy there, and then you get passed and all that. Especially when you're a door guy there, you kind of get this in the first few months, you get this you basically get a crash course in everybody who is like a Comedy Store person. So I had there's plenty of people. Like I met Tom Dreesen the other day, and I was like, hilarious. Bro, I've known you I know you don't know me, but I've known you forever. You know what I mean? Like on a store level, like more than obviously a famous comedian, like legendary stand-up in his own right, but as a Comedy Store guy to Comedy Store guy.
It's a difference. By the way,
can I just say this? Tom Dreesen is having a renaissance right now. Are you aware of this?
Someone else in LA told me that he's been like popping up and crushing shit. I'm like, I love this because I'm not as old as him. Like, he's like, dirt age, but it's like, so it's great. He's like Mooney would say, he's 10 minutes older than dirt. So,
I mean, he's up there with
he's
dirt.
Long on the tooth. Yeah. He's up there with when the earth, he probably still has the blisters on his feet when the earth was still warm. Nothing? All right. So, but it's like, it's so cool to hear us old heads popping up and just crushing. And then the kids today are discovering us and they're like, oh, this is amazing. It's
my buddy beautiful. My buddy Arthur Hamilton, who's a very funny stand-up comedian, young dude, black guy. But mind you, this is significant. I don't mean to bring race into this, but the reason I say this is because Tom Dreesen's range, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Is pretty vast. And my buddy, he just sends me these stand-up clips all the time, and he starts sending me Tom Dreesen clips. Like, I fucking love this guy. I was like, this is Tom Dreesen. He's like, who is he? I was like, bro, this is like a legend. And I was breaking it down to him, but then he's got me on his clip. So the reason Tom Dreesen's killing it right now is that we live in the clip era. His jokes, if you remember his style, it's kind of an old school throwback style. It is perfect for a clip. He gets an entire joke within 30 to a minute, right? Like 30 seconds to a minute clip. A whole Tom Dreesen joke, which they're not just regular setup punch. They're like kind of they're intricate too. It's crazy, but his style's always been that way. It's just interesting how the times caught up to him.
Well, what I find too, maybe you've noticed this too, is like, especially because you've been spending a lot of time in Austin, so you're around Joe Rogan and Holtzman and those guys that are always around. Yeah. And so there's a different era of style that doesn't die. The way you're supposed to do comedy doesn't die. It just it gets what's the word? Not reinvented,
Furnished?
but rediscovered.
Rediscovered.
Because every generation, we know what happens at that time because we lived it, and then we move on, and we expect everybody knows it's like that. But then the kids today that come up never have been exposed to that, so they start discovering stuff, and it goes viral all over again. Say, with everything gets rediscovered. If we don't,
doubt.
So it's like history repeats itself, and it's like I tell, I'm starting a show out here once a month, and I'm calling it. I'm not sure. I was going to call it Heavy Hitters, but I might call it Road Dogs. So we're going to film it for a Roku channel, and like a comedy series, like a comedy docu-series, like stand up, like a special, like a Netflix special kind of thing.
That.
But then have the the backstage scenes of like the green room and how we prepare, and we're road dogs. Like, we haven't been discovered. We're not world, famous names. We're not household names, but we are the essential workers of stand-up. We keep the arteries of America flowing with comedy because big names don't play in little clubs or shit towns. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We do. We live off those. That's our bread and butter. So
Absolutely.
the big names are playing theaters and stadiums and big cities. They're doing that, where we're playing, bumfuck, Tennessee, but we keep the legacy going of what stand-up comedy is. So, we make a living, we make money, we survive, we're good, we're doing what we love, but we're not a household name. So I want to do a show about this. So we're going to film it either March or April. I'm waiting to hear dates back. So, but yeah, like comics that are like 20, 30 and 40 years in, I'm bringing them all in that are all my road dogs, and it's going to be a beast of a show, and we're going to do a series of it.
No doubt. People don't know that, like, the funniest comedians aren't always the famous ones. It's like anything, okay. If you're doing stand up, the only time we practice is while we do it. So there's no strumming our guitar in our room. You know what I mean?
No.
I mean, when you start out, it's embarrassing because those first few notes that you're doing are in front. Imagine you're a guitar player and you're literally like, dun, 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 and you're in front of an audience, right? So it takes a long time to practice because it's about getting the stage time and all that. Well, if you do anything for that long and you're surviving off of it, you're making a living off. These road guys aren't poor people. They're not, it's like they're not broke. They're making a living like anybody off of being out there on the road. Maybe they're not famous, but they're good. They're not, that has nothing to do, the fame is separate from good. You know what I mean? Like,
thank you.
You can have both. You can have both.
Yeah,
no doubt 100. You can have both. But you can also have one or the other. And especially like you're saying, that 20-year up, those guys, and they've been doing it this whole time, and they've made a full-on living. Like, not just a living though, like they have kids, they have a family. Imagine raising a family off of just stand-up. I'm telling you, they're good at it. And you may not know them, and maybe they don't have the thing where, the social media thing, or they don't have the podcast, or they're not actors, so they're not doing the Hollywood thing. They're just solely out there, and they're on the road, and they're getting booked. They're road dogs. They've had these connections with club owners for decades, and they make their same rounds every single year. And I'm telling you, those are some of the best comedians, because every crowd they go up in front of, it's not like their crowd. They're winning over a whole new crop of people every single night. You put 20 years doing that every night, like, you get pretty damn good. Yeah. So some of these guys are just, they're people. They're just monsters out there, unknown monsters.
Yeah, I have buddies that I work on the East Coast with out here that we hit the road from Jersey to Philly, down to Delaware, up to Boston. Like, these guys are beasts, and we'll co-headline together, and then we'll swap off who goes first. Like, if we're doing a weekend, like my buddy Mark Riccadonna, he'll be like, because he's a storyteller, he does feel good stuff, dad jokes, and I'm a piece of shit. So we kind of, balance each other out, and that's how we sell our show. We do like the naughty and nice, good versus evil. And how we presented it was like, he's dad jokes and stories and feel goods, and I'm a piece of shit. And the crowd starts laughing, like, that's such a funny, but everybody gets something. But it's like, we're so different, but we're so like we're beasts, and we have no name, no TV credits that are big enough for people to give a shit about. and they just come out because these clubs in these rural towns have these built-in club fan bases. You know, they know that's the comedy club in town. They know headliners from New York and Los Angeles and everywhere else in Chicago are coming through, so they know it's going to be good. So they just show up, and then they don't know who you are, but it's really cool when you win them over and they're like, oh my God, like, and it's just, it's amazing. And it is hard, but it's not at the same, it's not, it is harder with the sense that you don't have a name where you want to get the people in, but at the same time, it's like, I love it because they don't know who you are. Yeah. So they have no preconceived prejudice against you or for you.
Yeah. That's a fun part of it too, is winning people
over. They don't have this already opinion about you that they formed. Right. So it's more like, what you got? Who is this?
Yeah. And there's something about that actually works in your favor, having the blank canvas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this,
you can take them anywhere.
Anywhere. There's nothing that they're looking for. They're just like, they're an empty book. It's like, just, you're like, go. What do you got? Yeah. What do you have? You know, how can I relate to you? I saw the last guy related to that. They're going out to see a
comedy show, not to...
Exactly. Yeah, that's some old school comedy. I mean, that's how it was. That's how it. I mean, right now it's clearly a comedy boom. But I started stand up like, well, you were there in the 90s, right?
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. Yeah,
and 95. So I'm almost embarrassed to even though I was there in the mid 2000s, but like, you were there in the 90s. That's way worse.
Yes.
I was there when at least there were some famous comedians, or at least some things were happening. Like my era, like when I'm in high school, it's like David Tell's coming up. Jim Gaffigan was like blowing up. Dane Cook is like the #1 comedian on the planet. Those were my guys. You know what I mean? And so, but that was better than nothing. You know what I mean? Like 90s, like who did you have? Well, no, I take that back. You had Chris Rock. So you had black comedy. You had great black comedy. The 90s was like so much fun. Def Comedy Jam.
Def Jam was big, but it was like we had the urban circuit, but I always separate the Comedy Store from other clubs. Like, you know, in the 90s, we dubbed it the land of the misfit toys. I used to call it, out of all 3 clubs, it was the jazz club, where you could go scat and jazz fusion and go crazy.
Yeah.
You know, the Improv to me was like this snooty corporate gig. You know, the Laugh Factory to me was the WB back then, the Wayans brothers. And then the Comedy Store was Animal House, you know? And we were just a bunch of degenerates. And it was like I was like, in football teams wise, like we were the Oakland Raiders. We were Al Davis's Oakland Raiders back then. Yeah. You know, we were just mutants out of prison.
Oh yeah.
And losers, fuck ups, and then all
that era.
And all the smart kids were. Yeah. So, but also too, it was really tough because nobody was going out to comedy back then because it was just. The internet had just been invented, not like it is now. It was the information highway back then, or information superhighway. And people were renting DVDs. And people were at home watching.
Publishing their stand-up.
Yeah, Blockbuster Video was huge. Renting movies and taking them home was a big deal back then. So instead of going out and spending money, people would stay home and watch movies. Because it was the new thing. Like, how cool is this? So getting people out was really tough. Like, we would hit the hotels. Mitzi had those 2-for-1 tickets that she had made, and we would stack them in all the concierges in the hotels around the store. And then we would fly our cars.
I think I have a few of those. Because I was like kind of a collector.
Hang on to those, baby.
Yeah, I know. She had those. She had, what's crazy? I used to work the phones at the Comedy Store, so I would have free range to that entire building all day. And there's nobody in that, no soul in there but me. And when my buddy Tony Hinchcliffe, he gets the job there like a few weeks after me. I helped him get the job there. We met doing mics there when we first started. And he had the same kind of obsession with the Comedy Store that I had. Like, I was obsessed. The Comedy Store, I grew up in Long Beach, California. As soon as I got my driver's license, I would drive up to the Comedy Store and drive by slow. I was in high school. I'd go after school and I would drive by the store and I slowly look in there, see if I bet that guy's a comedian. Where's Paulie, you know? So as soon as I turned 21, I was able to get in. And then, I mean, I got a job there. What an honor. Like I couldn't, you know, I was living a dream at 21, being a door guy at the Comedy Store in this historic building that I loved. And I had free range over the entire property. Like I go anywhere. So we would go search in like file cabinets that were just like probably weren't open for decades. And we found all of these old pay stubs for like huge comedians. I found Richard Pryor pay stubs. Robin Williams, Sam Kinison, and you see their names printed out there and how much they got paid. And like looking back, I wish I would have jacked that shit. I mean, I probably can never get my hands on it again, and nobody gives a fuck about it now. Like it's probably still in some other storage cabinet that will never see the light of day. Like I would have framed that shit. But,
like back in my day, you know how like my best friend Kira at the time, we were doing extra work and getting our SAG cards and all that shit. And then she goes, if you don't go to the Comedy Store and get on that fucking stage and do an open mic, I'm going to kill you. I'm tired of listening to you bitch about being a comic. So I said, all right, fine. So I went to the Comedy Store one afternoon, pulled into the lot, walked in, and Dave Schuler was the day manager at that time. Gay bear. Hey girl. And I walked in looking for a job as a waitress. And we sat down. Within 30 seconds, I had the job. And we were kikiing. I was there for like 3 hours. We're laughing, drinking tea. Paulie and Bobby Luddington came in. I met the dog, Archie, and then Mitzi came later as I was leaving. I was like, oh my God, it's Mitzi Shore. Like I was having a heart attack. And it was just so crazy. And then, you know, I get hired as a waitress and then, you know, waiting tables. And then, you know, I started doing more because, you know, she hires all of us. So at the time, waitresses were not allowed to talk to comedians unless the comedian was ordering a drink. Otherwise, you'd get fired.
Jesus.
So we had to be on our best behavior. You know, Eleanor was there, Lauren Peltz, Jennifer Freeman.
What year is this?
1995.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Damn,
so
I was 10.
We weren't allowed to. Yeah. Fuck you. And then so we're not allowed to. And then waitresses were not allowed to talk to comics, let alone be a comic. So I had to sneak and do like on potluck night. They had 2 lists for Mitzi. One that she saw with the employees on it, and one that they gave to the cover booth that had my name on it. So at that time, they were playing double standard because they didn't want me to get fired for being a comic and totally going against waitresses weren't allowed there on their days off. They weren't allowed to talk to me. We were like in prison. So, you know, I'd have to hide when she would come in for showcases. I'd hide in the main room, in the bathroom, and then they had to wait till she left. It was hilarious. So, whatchamacallit, I started doing more things around the Comedy Store. I was working the phones. I was working in accounting. I was Scott Day, the talent coordinator's assistant. I was Mitzi. She called me her all-around girl. So I did everything at the store. Like I was doing all these jobs just because it was, you know, I need to make money. I'm a starving kid. So I got on her good side and she loved me so much. And then one day they were sitting around, like she goes, all right, who's on the potluck list for Sunday and blah, blah, blah. Because it was still Sundays. It wasn't Sundays and Mondays yet. And then, and she got the list with my name on it. And they were like, and Mike Becker was her vice president at the time. So it was Mike Becker, Scott Day, and Dave Schuler with her in her office. And they're sitting there and she sees the list and she's reading the employees and she sees my name. She goes, what? Christy's a performer? And they've all, Scott Day told me, he goes, they all turned white. And they're like, oh God, she's going to fire her. Oh my God. Oh my God. And she goes, that's great. I love it. and slammed the paper down, and they all just went, "Oh, thank God!" And then I was able to run free in the store, and like,
did you keep on working those jobs there?
Yeah, I was everything. I do stand up. I was able to do stand up in the belly room, and I was, doing show, whatever. I got to do.
Who were
I didn't have pride.
Who were some of the paid regulars back then? Who were some of the paid regulars?
Oh, it's freezing a little. Oh God. Wow, that's going way back. Well, we didn't have a lot of guidance, because managers were getting fired every 6 minutes. So we always had a new manager, and we would make fun. Like the time Nancy Lors was our night manager, and she was there for a long time. And but we get these other managers, and we would tell them, "We'll never learn your name unless you're here for 6 months, because why bother? You're going to get fired in a couple weeks anyway." So, so a lot of the comics kind of ran roost. I mean, we would get spots. I mean, this is before I was a paid regular. I was still, working my way up. So it was like Freddie Soto, Eddie Griffin, of course, Dice and Joe Rogan. Carlos Mencia was the star of the club. That was her star child. Brian Holtzman was this crazy guy she would put on at 10 or 10:30 to separate the room from, 8 to 10. And then he would start late night. Holtzman always got a half-hour spot. And when Holtzman would go on, the lights would go out in the OR. And so, they keep the lights on in the early part of the show. And the OR, do they still do that? Like we'd have the lights on in the room, and it would be nice and warm.
Potluck. During potluck, they would do that. Not the paid regular shows, no.
Okay, because the Holtz would go on, and all the lights would go down, and that's when you knew late night was starting. And then Holtzman, so cool. It was amazing. And so all the people that were headlining, which was, Carlos got the spot every night, and him and Joe Rogan got Fear Factor. So he was blowing up, and then him and Carlos were butting heads because Carlos was a thief, and it was just like this whole thing. It was hilarious. And Mooney would close out in the main room and in the OR. And we had and it was just, Johnny Sanchez was there, Cardinale, who else? Bob Oshak.
Yeah, I know all these guys. That's so crazy.
Yeah, who else was there?
It's so crazy that through the years, it's like those were your paid
Argus Hamilton. Yeah, Argus Hamilton. Cheryl Vendetti opened the main room every Saturday because it was only open one night a week because it was very slow. And Cheryl Vendetti would open it, then Argus, and then whoever else. God. It's just hard to remember everybody. Like when I see the old lineups, I'm like, oh my God. And then I got made a paid regular right after I came here I was with Paul Mooney at the end of 99 here in New York at Caroline's. Because I got close to Mooney right away. Like my first week there, I met him and we became instant father-daughter. Like it was insane.
Yeah, I was so starstruck when I met him.
Yeah. Yeah, I almost dropped my glass.
He was kind of mean to me.
Yeah.
By the time and then no, exactly, because I said that to somebody oh no, you definitely met Paul Mooney.
Yeah, you got to meet Mooney. You met Mooney.
It was an honor.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so funny.
I love when he gets mad at white guys.
That's what it was. It was about my whiteness. He's like, none of you white boys would be here if it was for me, or something like that. I don't know. It didn't even make sense. It was like, we're not even in the same. All right. But you mentioned Brian Holtzman, another guy who's having a renaissance right now.
Yes.
It's especially here in Austin, he fits right in. He's got his own show at the Mothership, the dark side of the Mothership. And they do the same thing where when he goes on, they change the lights. The lights look different when he's on. And actually, he'll have this red
from the comedy.
It has this red brim, so it kind of looks like the Comedy Store when he goes on. Well, my gig a lot of times Adam puts me on after him, so I follow Holtzman a lot.
That'll make you better, because when I was coming up, when I got made a paid regular, when I finally showcased and got past my first paid spot, I followed Dom Irera. So I'm shitting my pants in the back of the OR going, and he's ripping, effortless, just standing there. He's a fucking.
Dom Irera there's it doesn't get enough recognition, this one skill set that he has, because he's so well-rounded. I mean, dude, he's also evolved. Like, you know, in the 80s, like he was like a character guy. Like he would do characters. Now it's nothing like that. But one thing I always admired about him, he's so good at bombing. Like, when he bombs, something activates, and he's like funnier than ever. He could have never been that funny had he not started bombing for some reason. And if he's killing, he's destroying. So it's like, as a killer, he's great. But when it doesn't go his way, I've never seen. So he taught me patience. It's like in the face of a bomb, when things are going bad, don't get angry, don't get worried. Don't be. He was just so calm and actually. Have fun with it and be aware. Stop hiding it. It's clearly happening, and
it's the elephant in the room. Have fun with it. Like when
it's just
something
a part
doesn't
of
go my way. Yeah.
But it's part of the show.
But if you don't bomb, you're not trying. You're not taking chances. And comics that go, "Oh, I never bomb." Well, then you're really not taking a chance. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're not pushing yourself to the next level.
It's like,
and you're not taking risks. And then you get to a point where everything you do will come out like I'm 28 years in. I cannot wait, Matt, until my 30 year, because it's that all the growth spurts and all the years and all the decades of your career. I love the jumps. I love when I hit milestones. Like when I hit 20, I was so stoked. And I hit 25, I was like, this is great. Now I'm looking forward to 30, because at 30, it becomes this whole thing where no matter what you do, you don't even have to even think about a bit. Everything you do will come out as your voice. Like at 20 years in, you could go out and think of a bit and it'll automatically come out. But at 30, you don't even have to do a bit and it'll come out in your voice.
It's almost like it gives us something to look forward to when it comes to aging. When the world doesn't want to age, nobody wants to age. But something about when you're a comedian, you know that next decade is a good thing. You're that much better. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what I would do. Because I'm the kind of vain person that, like, me getting older and looking older, like that would tear me up if I wasn't a comedian. But like now, it's just like every new year, I don't think of my age in life. I think of my age as a comedian, and like, oh yeah, I'm even closer to that 20-year mark where I've seen those guys. They get that they hit God mode, where, like you said, you could literally just be like, oh, I'm gonna talk about this tonight, and just start going. You know?
Yeah, or just have like, hey man, what's going on, and murder. You know, like, because it's the way you say it, because you've worked that muscle. It's 30,000 hours of experience.
Well, that's it's like literally how Paul Mooney did stand up.
Yeah.
He was just like, go up there. We'd have like a Merlot or something, and we'd just go up there and.
No, he'd have a champagne split or a Crevassier.
Okay. So like whatever it was,
he kept it
he just
real,
goes
homie.
Up there and he just spits out gold, and you're going, wait, is that a joke? Did he write that, or is that really just coming out of his face right now?
Yeah, exactly. I remember one night when I first started, and this is where, you know, because people come up to me and go, did you just make up that whole 45-minute set? I go, no, it's material. I made up the crowd work as I went along, but you know, it's all planned, you know, not like in a row. The crowd dictates where I go, what I'm going to say. And like, even when I did my album, Brutally Yours, on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you stream. That's my shame.
And I could also second that, because I was at that recording, and it was fucking great.
Thank you. And do you know about 20 something minutes of that was off the cuff? Like stuff I had in my head that I haven't tried out yet.
Was that it? Like the beginning, or
in the beginning, and some in the middle and some in the end, like it was split up.
Oh shit!
The whole beginning, the whole opening was off the cuff. The whole opening was off the cuff.
I still think about one of your jokes from that. There's
a
joke that I literally think about, so it makes me laugh, and sometimes I'll just like say it to myself in the elevator. It was the Jimmy Walker joke.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. They say black don't crack, but we found one who did.
I got to do that joke the other night because someone dropped his name on stage before me. They said they were my friend Sean Lynch. He was working with Jimmy Walker and he was so excited. I go, Jimmy Walker, what a name to drop in a room full of 20-year-olds. They don't fucking care. And I'm roasting him. I said, these kids know him from the Medicare commercial. So I got to do the so fun. And it murdered. But
that's crazy. That's crazy that's there's a generation of people that know him from the Medicare commercial.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, no, he was like a brilliant stand-up.
He's an iconic, and an iconic sitcom star.
Fun fact about the Comedy Store, though, he was their first famous guy.
Yeah, that
was the first famous comedian there. That was had a TV show. They was doing the Hollywood thing.
Yep.
You know, like before Pryor comes, like Pryor's already kind of famous by the time he gets to the store, you know, like it wasn't this guy was
comedy.
He had a name in comedy. He wasn't famous, but he was a name in comedy. JJ Walker's the first guy that was like a celebrity,
a TV star. Yeah, like a TV star in comedy. Yeah, no, absolutely. Now he's get your money.
That's crazy.
Jimmy needs a walker. Good night.
I wonder if I don't know if that's sad or not, or if that's what you get for just making it so hard that like, hey man, if you want, there's this cash grab at the end of your life you could get. You just do just for being you. You don't have to audition, show up, say this stuff about Medicare. We'll give you $500,000 or just do the thing and
do what you're known for. Yeah, no, 100%, because he's catering to the people that know him at that age group. So they're going to resonate with Kid Dynamite. You know, instead of Grandpa Dynamite or Grandma Dynamite, you know? So it's, but like with Mooney, like, you know, working with him, one night when I first started, he's on stage in the OR. There's 2 people in the front row. And, you know, they've been beaten up since 8 o'clock. And it's 1 a.m. And he's got his champagne split with the red straw. And he puts his feet up on the table in front of him on the stool. And he does an hour of destruction for these 2 to them and just talking. And he's doing his material, but he's just talking like, hey, did you hear about this? You know, like he's having a phone conversation. It was crazy, but it was like my first witness. Did it cut out?
No, I'm listening.
Are you there? Okay.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
But it was like totally. It was like my first introduction to watching a comedian, a master at who he was and at his craft, sit down and turn his act into a 1-hour phone conversation with these people. And it was so fascinating because I was like, you know, like a month in, you know, I had placenta on my face. It was terrible. And he always gave me a piece of advice after that. He said, honey, I don't care if there's 1 person or 1,000 people in the audience, do your show. And that always stuck with me after that night. So, and it's true. If there's 1 person, I'm going ham. I'm hamming out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't punish that 1 person for being the nice one to buy a ticket and no one else did. I give them the VIP experience. I said, this is a private show. You know, like people pay thousands of dollars for a private show and you're getting it for 2 Diet Cokes. You know what I mean? Like,
you really gotta take yourself out of it, because if you're gonna make it about you, you're gonna be disappointed. Like, oh, nobody showed up. But like, the show's for them. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, we get off by doing a good job and connecting, you know what I mean? And like, that's where we get ours. But in order to do that, you have to show up for them.
Yep. Well, I get more pleasure out of, maybe, I don't know, you probably do too, is when there is only 2 people in the audience versus 2,000 people. And you're murdering these 2 people who are by themselves in the room, and you're doing 20 to 30. And you're killing. That to me is priceless because they don't have other people to feed off of. They're the only ones in the room, so all eyes are on them, so all the pressure's on them to laugh. And they're unconditionally falling out of their chair, laughing, having fun. They're into it. You know, it's an honor. You know, to me, that's when you know you can kill. Is when there's 2 people and you murder the room and it sounds like 20 people. That to me is like, that's a master of your craft.
Oh yeah.
Because most comics, you know, get cower to I call it empty chair syndrome. They cower down to all the seats that aren't filled.
Yeah.
And they make fun of the room. They make fun of the booking. They make fun of, oh, what'd you guys do? Lose a bet? Oh, I could have dialed this in from I could have emailed my set in tonight. Could have done this in my living room. Fuck this club. No, fuck you, asshole.
Yeah, you're where they are. You're not better than them. Like that's you're in this together. I always say it's like when you kill, it's a group effort. No one comedian kills. It takes them. Yeah. It takes all of us. You know what I mean? That's like it takes we all kill. The whole room does.
I like to go in and vibe the room, see what they're reacting to the comics before me. Even if I'm headlining, it's just to open it up. But I enjoy the show too.
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's like when you get old enough to like do the opposite of what some of your mentors have taught. I had a mentor who I love, and he was right about almost everything, and I had to get to a point where I had to start making my own choices that worked for me. And he was a guy that he always was like, I'll never watch the guy before me. I don't want to have that in my head. I want to go clean slate, and that's cool. That works for him, but for me, I like, every second you're up there, especially the first few seconds, all you're doing is downloading information. You're just getting the information, everything you're going to need to know to how to talk to them, and your inflection and your timing and all that. It's all, you learn that there. I feel like when you get there and the guy before you at least has the light on, you know what I mean? Maybe he's got a minute or two. You kind of get a head start at that process. That's a whole part of the show. You're going to have to learn anyways. You might as well see what's good, or see like what kind of the vibe is and how to, because I've made choices off stage for how I'm going to work on stage that have been the right choice. And it was a smooth transition. I go right up there and take it. And rather than figure it out the hard way while I'm up there and adjust, it's like I made all the adjustments already. So when I got there, it was just a set. Like, sometimes you'll like the laughs could come tighter and like you need to hit quicker. Like you just need to like kind of like, there's no time to like lean into your punches. You almost have to be ready with the next setup. You know what I mean? And it's like da-da-da, 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 and the whole set might just be that. And then there's some sets, where it's like you find out that maybe they only laugh at the punchline. For some reason, the setups aren't getting much, but when you finish the joke, there's that laugh, and it's a longer laugh. That's a whole different pace then. Because then you have to like, then when you start a new joke, it's just like, you kind of got to stay calm or maybe tell it a little bit quicker because all you're doing is getting to the punch. And that's all the laugh you're going to get. It's weird how they're all together. You know what I mean? Like, for the most part, the whole room is on the same wavelength. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like there's this communal understanding of every room, and they don't know. They have no idea. To them, they're just watching.
It's all subliminal shit. It's like they walk into a comedy club, and their subconscious connects into, we're at a comedy club. There's going to be jokes told. We're going to watch people and laugh. So subliminally in their head, in the club, they're already set up. Like the on switch is already on to watch a show, watch live stand-up comedy. Versus if you go to like some, offbeat dive bar in the corner and just happen to set up a show, people aren't in the same frame of mind subliminally because they're at a bar, there's TVs on, there's, you know what I mean? Or there's something else going on, and then you see a pop-up comedy show, and then you have to really win them over and get them to pay attention because subliminally they're in a social setting, so they're not wanting to shut up or listen.
Right.
They're at a bar. They're not even facing you. You know what I mean? So it's like I use that analogy because when you go into a club, it clicks.
Yeah. It's designed that
in
way.
their head. It's set up. It's all subliminal. They walk in, your mind already is like, all right, I'm going to see stand-up comedy. This is great. And they're already ready to open and welcome. And they'll give you that, we call it the 6-minute grace period. They'll give you the first few minutes. But I always like what you were saying, before you're saying before about the guy on before you. I like to watch the MC because usually they set up where everybody's from. So then I take little notes where areas people are from. Because there's nothing more annoying than seeing every single comedian on the lineup go up. So where are you from? Bitch, we said it 3 times. Were you not paying attention? And it's like it gets old after a while. And it's just like, so I take notes all right, that area is from New Hampshire. This area is from Los Angeles. This area is from Chicago. So I map out my areas and I log them. And then I like to watch the comics before me. So if something pops off, something stupid, or if they bomb, or if they say something, I know if it's something like an elephant in the room type of situation, then I can address it and make it funny and have, like, here's an example. One night when I used to open for Paul Mooney here at Caroline's, these guys that had this Caribbean room in Prospect Heights in Brooklyn, they used to do a comedy show at this place called Janelle's Caribbean. They had a stage. They always had live music there, but the first Friday of the month, they did stand-up. So the guy that was booking it, my friend Sherwin, used to come see Paul Mooney every weekend. And he asked, he's like, I'd love you to come out. Would you do this room and headline? I said, sure. So I go out there, and the kid, I'm the only white person. I'm the only snow bunny in the club, right? Which is, I love, because I think it's hilarious, because then they don't know what the fuck to expect out of me. And then I just have free reign. The kid that went out before me was some new jack who obviously was brand new, and he went to, his bit was something about going to Goodwill to buy, that he found lingerie for sale at Goodwill. And he put the underwear and bra on over his clothes. And so I was like, and they were like laughing at him, not with him during the joke. Because, you know, black audiences will tell you straight up if they love you or not. And that's what I live for. So they weren't feeling him, but they were laughing at him and making fun of him.
Yeah.
So I had to follow this because I was closing the show. So I went up and he did some other bit, and I combined his bit with his out and just won them over and destroyed the place, because I'm like, how am I going to get them on my side? I'm the snow bunny in this fucking room. They're not going to want to listen to my ass, you know, like, so I had to so I went in and just annihilated by making fun of that kid, addressing what had happened right before me. And then after that, it was like, I could do no wrong. But it's like, you need to assess what's happening, because if you go up and don't know what's going on, the only way you can really get away with that is if you just go into your act and you're just powerful and you just barrel through and you don't address the audience, or if you're a celebrity and you can be like, what the fuck happened? You know what I mean? Like, it's because if something crazy happens before you, it has to be set up really good, like to where the audience is just kind of trained to know that this is a new guy, and we're basically deleting everything you just saw, and you now, like, you're now watching the blank canvas. You know, somebody, Rel Battle, you know, Rel Battle was like, he made a good point about black rooms, white people in black rooms, where he was like, you have better odds as a white person if you're the only 100%. White person, because it's like, you're exotic, you're different. Yep. Well, and they also go, oh, this white girl's in here. Oh, we want to see what she's going to do. She must be down because she's here. And this is what I get when I play black rooms with comics that have never met me. They go, oh, who's this white girl in here? Oh, I want to see what she's going to do, because they're curious. Like, why is a white girl here? She's got the white clubs. You remember Honest John? Oh, I love Honest John. That's my dude.
I mean, that guy would destroy black rooms. This is an old white man.
He's still he was an old white man when he was young. Yeah.
Oh, he's immortal.
He was old when I knew him.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But he would just walk up there, and he walks up there, and he just like flatlines this room. Dude, and it's all, might be the only white guy on the show.
Yeah, back when Fat Tuesday started at the Comedy Store.
That's where I saw him.
Honest John was one of the first white guys, but no one thought of Honest John as a white guy.
No.
I never thought of Honest John as a white guy.
Even now when I say it, it's almost like I had to remember. Right, but it was just, he was his own thing, you know? Yeah,
he was his old hippie. And he was an old hippie when I met him 30 years ago.
Chain smoker, just constantly smoking cigarettes every second he gets. And he's like 100 years old. It's insane. Yeah. We meet the craziest fucking characters, man. I love it.
The Comedy Store is the most eclectic bunch. We're the most fucked up, dysfunctional family. And I wouldn't change one soul in that building.
Christy, you got to come out and see you got to see the Mothership. It's pretty interesting because Rogan, it's designed. There's a lot of places when you walk through it, you see where he paid homage to the store. I mean, there's things that are straight up comedy store. Mitzi's, and there's that big old famous picture of her. She might have been in her 40s. You know what I'm talking about?
I know the picture.
You know the picture?
Yep. I know the picture well. Yep.
There's so many little details, like subtle details. It's definitely its own thing, and it's definitely the theme is, it's like it's the Mothership. You can tell when you get there. But if you look at certain things, they may seem a little bit off, or it's like, what's that doing here? It's like it's a store reference. It's really cool how he did it.
Yeah, but if you're a store comic, it's not out of place. It's like
it's actually. If you're a store comic, I think store comics would appreciate it more than any other kind of comedian. I mean, every comedian is going to appreciate it because it's also one of the few clubs ever that's built from the ground up as a comedy club. It was an Alamo Draft House, which is a movie theater, so theater close. But he gutted it, and the way, like the Fat Man is their main room basically. Right, it's like their premier 300 seater. Sweet. Apparently, like Louis C.K. came in while I was still under construction. He's like, lower the ceiling, like what 5 feet or some amount. He actually knew the exact amount to lower it, and Joe's like, okay, and he did it, and it's like
the acoustics. Yeah,
that means, and so Louis walked in there, and now that means Joe and Louis are walking in. They're just these guys know better than anybody. I mean, Louis is the ultimate club comedian, whereas Joe's just this grizzled vet in stand-up. So, these guys, I mean, it is tailor-made. It's the Apple of stand-up because it's literally like it's user-friendly. It's made for us. And the little boy is basically this original room, belly room, hybrid. Well, Joe would tell you it's like the original room meets the belly room. I would say that, and put a hint of La Jolla in there as far as the kill factor goes. Because
La Jolla, I miss
it's like
La
cutting
Jolla.
butter. It's like cutting butter. It's the most funnest kill room that there is. Like like little boy is like that kind of fun as far as the slaughter goes. It's made to destroy. The little boy and the Fat Man
was like. That's cute. I thought it would be called Jake and the Fat Man. Get it? Never mind. It's bad. That's the 80s reference. But
actually, I don't get it.
Yeah, I hate you. It was a cop show on this TV in the 80s called Jake and the Fat Man. So anyway, forget it. It's gone. But La Jolla, I used to call it shooting babies in a barrel. Like it was just cake.
It's like fishing with a grenade.
Yep. That room was like, if you sucked, you did good there. But if you bombed there, you should kill yourself.
Oh yeah,
like,
you should never
really
do it again.
Kill yourself.
Yeah,
you should never.
You have no excuse.
Yeah, get out of town, leave, because I'll chase you out.
I was 3 months into stand up the first time I did it, and I was like, whoa, that's what it must feel like to be good.
Yeah, no, it's true. I remember going down there. Mitzi would let us go down and use the condo.
Yeah, right.
She'd give me the keys and we'd go down, and Bobby Lee was a doorman down there, and the other dude Andre was there, and Mark Fernandez, and like they all were the La Jolla guys, and it was so much fun.
It's so special, but the little boy feels like that. It's like this. I mean, it is. I'm having a blast here right now. I mean, this scene, this Austin, New York and LA, they'll always be. You know what I mean? The two biggest scenes. What's great about those scenes is that they're so legendary and they're hardened. You know what I mean? And that's where all the greatest comedians are. What's making Austin amazing is there's just enough great comedians that are veterans that are here now that raise the bar of a very young scene. These guys are young. I mean, they're like 20s and like maybe 5 years into stand-up. And so they're so fresh. There's no bitterness. There's no competition. I always feel like we talk about jokes more. Like somebody would go up like, you should try saying it like this. And they're like, oh yeah. And then somebody else would chime in. And then we all go in there and watch the guy's set and be like, That's how you do it. I mean, everybody, there's this sense of we're all in this
that's
together.
The Comedy
How cool
Store.
Is this? Right.
Yeah,
well,
that's how the Comedy Store was. And that's what I miss. There's not a scene like that here. The thing that comes closest is the Cellar. But at the same time, everybody's out to cut each other's throat. And I miss...
Well, I think it's like that in LA also. I think LA, I think it's part of the hardenedness of the cities. I mean, these cities are hard. They're just cement. Whereas, and there's nothing, I mean, that's okay because you need that, you know, and it's great that those two scenes are there. And obviously they're always going to be the front runners, but there's a special thing happening in the South right now where there's a newness, there's a freshness, there's an excitement. And these guys, I mean, they are going up and practicing a lot every single night, and they're writing a lot, and they're following. I mean, we got some great comedians here. I mean, Joe Rogan, but we also have Tom Segura, you know, Tony Hinchcliffe. We have Christina Pazitsky, Brian Simpson, Shane Gillis, who's, you know, Shane is just a fucking monster. And So all these young guys are now being exposed to some great stand. Just like at the store, you know, I would follow like a Bill Burr, or I would follow a Sebastian. You know, I would have to get, sometimes people wouldn't show up, and my late spot get moved hours early because nobody was there. And I'm the guy after fucking, you know, like like any of those guys who are now, they're all so famous, you know, they still go there. That's what's great. The store is still awesome because all those old guys that are, you know, the only difference now is that they're famous because when I was watching them, it felt like this cool secret. Like, you know, I would tell my friends, you know, like, you gotta see this guy, Sebastian. I was such a Sebastian Mark. I was such a big fanboy of this guy. And he was, not to say nobody, but he wasn't selling out Madison Square Garden. He probably wasn't selling out anything. But I would go in every time he was on stage.
I was there when he showcased.
Yeah. And now he's like, you know,
now he's the beast. God bless. He found his path, and that's the key.
Yeah.
Like, he did that.
I feel hipster about it because I was like, dude, I thought he was cool before any of you did, you know, like I'm very Los Feliz when it comes to Sebastian because I have this
Los Feliz, you are retarded.
Because I have this fucking, I was there. I'm telling you, man, there'd be like 6 people in the room and I'm watching them watch it for the first time. So like this thing that I knew was special, I'm watching the everyman come in and be like, who is that? I mean, I'm working the door. So they're coming up to me. Who was that Italian guy from Chicago? Like, oh, that's Sebastian Maniscalco. He's the fucking man. You know, when I used to work the phones, this is before, you know, modern internet. So like there wasn't Twitter, there wasn't, you know, Instagram. So the only promoting was the people would literally call the Comedy Store and ask what's going on tonight.
Yeah, they ask who's on the lineup. And I had my
spiel. I knew everybody. So I knew exactly how to sell the show.
Oh, yeah.
I was so good at it. I had my guys. I was like, oh, this guy, Brody. Because I would even throw people in that nobody knew. But I'm like, you're going to, like, what do you like? You know, I would talk to these guys on the phone.
I did the same thing back then, too. It was like, who do you like? And I'm like, oh, dude, they're all great. This guy, oh, master. This one, there was a couple. I was honest. There was a couple. I went, it's 15 minutes.
Well, I wouldn't even mention those ones because it's like if you have
it would make them laugh. It would make the people laugh on the other line.
Well, they trust you after that. It's like it's like a waitress telling you, like, no, you don't want that. Order this. You know what I mean? Like when a waitress would shoot down something, I'm always like, okay, I trust you. Now I trust you.
Yeah.
Because it's not even about. It's on a human level, not a company level. It's like So people would be like, well, I like guys that talk to the crowd. Like, oh, you like crowd work guys. Well, there's this guy, Rick Ingram. You're going to just get here get here at 9. He's up at like 10:30. You're going to love this guy. Then wait till you see Rick Ingram. Remember the name because you're going to go, oh, that's what that guy was telling me on the phone. This is the guy. Yep. And you're going to be, he's your new favorite comedian. I could already tell you that. Yep. So I had a way of selling it. And I took pride in it, you know?
Aww.
And now all these guys are famous. I don't have to say shit. Now the world knows, you know?
Yep.
It felt like it's a secret. And the cat's out of the bag. And what's cool is now comedy is in such a great place to where like there's so many different kinds and like there's something for everyone. That's why when I see the hate on the internet, like I'm always just like, then don't watch them. There's literally so many other comedians that are exactly what you need. I don't care where you're from. I don't care. I mean, I don't know. I watch comedy. Maybe I watch it different. I don't think I need to relate to them as far as politically or racially or anything like that. One of my favorites is Patrice O'Neal. To me, is in the top 3 of all time. I don't relate to him. I'm nothing like that fucking guy. He's so completely worlds differently than me, and he's still. When I watch him, I relate in a way. It's funny that this guy walks the earth thinking this way. Yeah. That's how I watch comedy. That's great. Of course he's going to get mad at this situation. And like, I mean, something I don't give a fuck about, you know? Yeah. It's not about me. It's about his experience. And it's fun to watch a comedian subjectively as like, oh, I enjoy that they go through that. I enjoy that he gets angry at this, or he's embarrassed or insecure about this, or she has a problem with this. Like there's comedians there's this, who's the lady in New York? Oh, now I feel bad. I'm blanking her name, but it's a guilty pleasure of mine. Zarna
Garg.
Yes. She's like middle-aged Indian woman, like off the boat, like not even like. And to me, it's like, I love it. I don't know why. It's just the way it comes out of her.
But it's because it's refreshing, because it's different. It's not the same point of view. It's like, it's not the same watered down shit. It's like, oh, it's refreshing to see a different point of view and how she views her marriage and her kids.
Yes.
And everyday life.
I love the marriage stuff.
It's
because it's coming from a woman who was like, it was an arranged marriage, but she runs with it, and she found love within it eventually. You could tell, but the way she shits on him, it's just like, but she obviously loves her family, because you watch her, I follow her, so I see her with them and all. Right. That's it. I could watch her, and then I could turn on to Joe Rogan and be blown away by that. I love it. I mean, you don't watch stand-up for who you're like. If you want to do that, it's gonna be way more narrow. But if you want to do that, that's fine. You'll find somebody for you. This is why I can't stand when people hate on comedians. It's like, dude, go find what you're into. I swear to God, you're going to find somebody.
I just tell people this. This is why I tell people, like, there's a lid for every pot. Find that lid, fit your pot, and you're good.
It fits perfectly. Like, listen, you're going to find somebody like you.
Listen, what you're describing is exactly what Sebastian Maniscalco is. He's a niche. The Italians love him.
Right.
And Italians love it when there's an Italian doing something. They are the most loyal to their fucking people I have ever seen. The Irish don't.
And to me,
you know what I mean? It's so funny, but it's like,
and like, I don't relate on it. The Italianness of him isn't even like, that's great if you're Italian and you need that. Perfect. There you go. That to prove my point. But then to me, it's like, I just like him that he's so disgusted by humanity, but he's so he carries himself in such a prestige. Like, I imagine his house is like marble. You know what I mean? There's a statue of him. He's blowing it. It's a waterfall, and it's like, but he has to get on a plane like everybody else, and it's just like, this guy.
See, I always imagine he doesn't even go in his own house because he's afraid to dirty it up because of the germs. Like, he wears hospital booties on his feet. You know what I mean? Like, he's just like, you got to take your clothes off and go through like the Silkwood shower that Cher went through in Meryl Streep. It's a bit much. But I love him because it's such a different outlook on life, on the same generic, it's not just typical, hey, when you're Italian, fucking good, bada boom, gotta eat, it's not that. It's his disgust with everything, and his germaphobe, and his, he's just, and
this
just
guy
how
at Chipotle, who's working at Chipotle, the way he did, and then you could tell, because I always only saw him at the Comedy Store, and you could tell when his rooms got bigger because he would perform bigger. Like he's like a goldfish, right? Like he grew into, now he's this arena comic that has to like fit into a comedy club. You know what I mean?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's just interesting.
He's been at SeaWorld swimming around, and now they put him in a fishbowl because they're cleaning the tank.
Yeah. Well, that's what's great about him, and not just him, but like all those people that come back and they're working every night. If you love stand-up, I mean, and you're in the area of, you know, LA, or you want to go out there, or even if you're in New York, like go to the Cellar, go to the Stand. You guys, all these big famous comedians, how do you think they practice? They're practicing with us in the clubs.
Yeah, they go to the clubs because that's where the magic happens. Late nights. Like, I love doing independent shows. There's so many of them here, and they pay better than the clubs. And I get more stage time than the clubs.
Wow, yeah.
You know,
they got great ones in New York.
Like 10 minutes, but I could do an independent room, get paid a decent amount of money, and get 20 minutes. Right. You know, so I could work on something, or I could do a half hour. They go, Christy, your closing, go as long as you want. We don't care. Mm-hmm. You know, you're the last comic, so do whatever you want.
That's what I love about Austin right now is like that too, because there's only a few comedy clubs, and they're great to work. I mean, I love them. But then I did a show in this guy's backyard, and I felt like I was performing at Coachella. I mean, it was over 100 people. And the stage and the lights and the vibe was just, it's almost even better because everybody's like, this is cool. Like we're in somebody's backyard. Like,
but it's the salt of the earth. Like, it's,
and I'm making, by the way, like times at least twice as much money as I would get paid doing a club, because it's like, these people aren't paying, there's no overhead. It's not like a club that, you know, they're not paying out their wait staff or the lighting or the electricity. It's like, no, they threw the show themselves. Yeah. So the money goes to them and the comedians. That's it.
Yeah. No, it's true. I love these.
It's great.
I love independent rooms. I go out to Brooklyn. I go to Jersey City. I go out to New Jersey. You know, they're all hidden. And I go out to Queens. I go out to Long Island, and I do these independent rooms. And it's because that, to me, that's the salt of the earth. Like that's where you go and find the funny, you find the magic, because it's real life. So you can really dig in, and then you take all that, and when you play the main clubs, you just murder. The people are like, where did that come from? Like, that's because I'm, you know, at the gym every day. You know, you know, that's, so like there's one of my favorite rooms right now is in Jersey City. This guy, Rich Kiamko, old school comic. He was around with Emo Phillips and Judy Tenuta. You know Rich Kiamko. Yeah.
Yep.
His room out in Jersey City, he does 4 shows a weekend. They built the room for him as a comedy club out there. And it's probably one of the funnest. It's like, to me, it only takes 10 minutes to get to because I'm in Midtown. And it's faster to get to Jersey City than it is to Brooklyn. And Brooklyn takes me an hour. And it's like, oh, I could go out, and it's like being on a road gig, but it's a city spot. So it's like the best of both worlds. So it's right, and it's 10 minutes for me. And then boom, it's like being on the road and just being able to work shit out. It's fun. But it's like,
that's what's great about having, you have your runs. Like you have your shit that you bounce back and forth there throughout the month. You do it a few times. I know, I fucking love it. New York has dude, I love the New York clubs also though. Like New York Comedy Club, the Midtown one especially, is so much fun.
It's cake.
It's cake. It's a great room. Yeah.
It's like, it reminds me of the Ice House, because it's like, it's so easy.
It's like a tiny little, it's like that annex room in the Ice House.
Yep.
Yeah.
I helped open the annex room. Did you know that?
Oh, no shit. The California room now.
Yeah.
Have you heard of it?
It's like called no.
Yeah.
It was called the Ice House Annex. And was it Kimberly at the time? And so it was me. Listen to this. It was me, Joey Gaynor, Franchi, Bill Burr, my friend Tamra, and Willie, not Willie Hunter, but Willis Turner. And we would help build up every weekend the annex to get people to go there as well and build it up. Yeah, it was right when it first opened. We were part of the first crew.
Wow, so cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's still open.
It's awesome to see things from the beginning. You know, it's like
really
rare
cool.
that usually you show up and it's been going on, but yeah. But that's a great room.
Yeah, I got to come out when you guys are there. Come out to Austin. I got to book some shit out there.
Oh man, there's so many fun. Mothership is one thing, but like, there's a spot, Vulcan, which is like,
oh yeah,
they do.
I was supposed to do that with Dice, and then it got canceled because the promoter fucked him, so we didn't go.
Oh fuck!
I know, I was bummed.
It's it's a cool spot. They, Creek in the Cave moved out here.
I heard. Yep, I know. I remember when she did. I never played there though. I wasn't a part of her little clique.
Me neither. I still haven't played at this one, but I just got booked last night. Somebody I'm there in like a week or so. I'm gonna go there tonight and check it out because it's a fun scene. Some of these clubs, it's just, even if you don't have a spot, it's fun to just go. Like, enough of us are hanging.
I miss that because in New York, there's no space for it. There's nowhere to hang out. Everything is so cramped.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Like, just sit at the bar, like,
or stand outside?
Hell no. Well, the stand's cool. The stand is a lot of wiggle room.
Yeah, I mean the
but that might be it. Oh, the olive tree. Yeah, that's a small little thing though. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, it's
and
harder to
New York
get
Comedy
that
Club
good hang.
on 4th Street has a decent area to hang out in, but
right.
But
wait, is
really
that that when you walk down, that's the
walk down into the bar.
Down the steps. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's a cool spot. Yeah, there's some great hangs. I even liked Caroline's back in the day.
I miss that was my home. That was my home.
Yeah, man. I would have thought somebody would have saved it. I really had. When I heard it was closed, I was like, no, I ain't gonna close.
No,
somebody's gonna come in there.
Yeah, it's because the landlord, because her lease was up after 30 years, doubled her rent. She's like, "Are you kidding? I'm barely making ends meet now with the comedy," and they doubled her rent. That's why she had to leave.
What is it now?
It's a ping pong place that Susan Sarandon owns. Yeah, it's called well, I forget what it's called.
That's horrible. Sorry.
Who cares? It's sad to walk by. It's gone, and but she's looking for another location. The last I heard from Greg Charles was that they were looking in Tribeca. Because she started she started at a cabaret in Chelsea near Gotham, and then she went down to South Street Seaport and actually had her own club because she took over for that cabaret. She got a spot down at South Street which was amazing, and Mooney helped her open that. And then 10 years there, after that lease was up, she got Midtown. And that's where she was for the last.
Oh, that's how it happened. Yeah, I mean, there's this. I just felt I was connected to that room. Yeah, that was like the first New York spot that like kind of it worked me a lot. Like that was like the way I would pay rent for a little bit. Yeah, but 100%. All good things. But
cycles.
It's cycles, and there was. I always loved how that room also felt, it was like the only weekend headliner club in New York. You know what I'm saying? So like people would come in and do weekends. And so what's cool about, another really cool perk about Mothership is that that little boy, there's they call them showcases out here. It kind of threw me off. I always thought of a showcase as like an audition, but how out here that's what they call all the shows. Like any show where it's like just comedians.
But that's what they call but that's what they call it out here too. It's showcases.
Hear that?
It's not like like they call them all-star showcases or all-star comedy showcase. Like
I guess they just don't call it that in LA. They don't use that verbiage. But anyways, they have showcases at Mothership pretty much every night. And the Fat Man, their main room, they also have, that's where Joe does his shows pretty much every night throughout the week. And that's like, they do a lot of and Friends shows, like Christina P. and Friends, right? But on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and then one show Sunday is a road club, and that's why Harlan Williams came in a few weeks ago and I got the feature for him. And like awesome. Like every weekend there's a new headline. I think Lenny Clark is here this weekend.
Oh, we love Lenny Clark.
Yeah. Yeah. So like you get that kind of variety. Isn't that awesome? Yeah. Ari Shaffir was here last weekend, then Joe DeRosa the weekend before that. So you get, I get to see guys that I wouldn't get to see, and they're just on the road. To them, it's the road.
Yeah,
and to me, it's like that's like kind of my home club out here. So I'm, you know, they're coming into where I work all the time, and I get to see guys like that I would usually don't get to see unless I'm in New York or now if I'm in LA.
Totally.
And it's a cool fucking thing. And sometimes I even work for them. Like I'll even feature for a weekend or something like that.
That's awesome.
You know?
I love it. Love it. But before we've gone way over, but I love this because this has been so much fun. I always like to wrap up. I know it really is. It's like therapy. It's delicious. But I always like to wrap up the show with 2 stupid questions because that's what I do. And question number 1 is there a bit a comic has done that made you go, God damn it, that was brilliant. I wish I had written that. And what was it?
I'm gonna go new. I'm gonna go things of right now that I see around town. Mm-hmm. There's this guy, Dylan Sullivan. Okay. Dylan Sullivan was a door guy at the store, and he was one of the first people to move to Austin before Mothership. And now he works all the scene out here, but he's at Mothership a lot, and he's great. This young, maybe early 30s, big old fat gay guy that is, so he's got that gay privilege that but he's not like he uses it. He doesn't use it physically. He uses it. He could say more shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You get away with murder.
And he rides a great edge. His edge is further than our edge, right?
Yes.
Like your edge, as a woman, you even get a little bit more. I'm a straight white guy. My edge is pretty far back. You know what I mean? From what is appropriate these days. But but he rides this really fun edge, and he has this joke. He's got a few bangers that I like. It's like some of my favorite jokes right now. But one of them is about how, so he's never had sex with a woman. So he's technically a virgin, right?
Oh,
but he's gay. So
he's a gold star queen. That's what they call
whatever
him,
they call that. Yeah. Right. So he's that, and he's like, honestly, I'm afraid to have sex with a vagina. I don't remember how he says it, but it was like, I have sex with a woman because what if I like it? And then I'm like, what was all that other shit about? Because he's been gay this whole time. Like, whoa, oh my god, I totally get into fucking girls this whole time. Like, wow.
What a waste of time.
What a waste of time and energy. Yeah.
Sorry, Dad.
I forget how he's sorry about that, Dad. I just never tried it. And all this time had passed. I thought, no, he's like a great.
Oops, my bad.
He also, that's what the joke's about. But his style, the way he speaks is so funny. He's got this this little it's almost like this chuckle in the back of his throat, he talks like it's like it's natural. It's none of it's like he doesn't try to do it, but it makes his inflection. It's almost like the less is more thing. Like he doesn't exhaust a lot of energy. He barely says it, and it's like, but it's just enough. And he has other jokes that are super intricate. He has this joke about Denny's, and I'm not even going to tell you why it's funny. But it's so intricate that he could tell it, the order in which he could say it could be different. It never has to go one linear way. And he could say some of it and then get off and do other stuff and then get back to it later.
And
it's like, it's all these moving parts to it. And the kid is super good at crowd work. If his jokes weren't great enough, he's got this crowd work that sometimes I follow him a lot also, and I dare say that I've struggled more following him than Holtzman. Holtzman almost, when he destroys, when you've seen those Holtzman lightning in a bottle sets, it's almost impossible. But there is a way, almost because by the time I get up there, it's more of a normalcy. So it's like they could be almost more ready for me. You know what I mean?
I find Holtzman easy to follow because he is so fucking great. You son
it's
of
almost
a
like
bitch.
they need. It's almost like at that point they're ready for something a little bit more normal, right? Like they're something a little bit more regular.
Yeah, it's like they're pounding Jaeger shots at the bar, and it's like, yeah, okay. Oh, I need some water. Oh,
I'm the water that comes in and hydrates after the onslaught.
Exactly.
But so Dylan, though, it's such a subtlety to him, and his crowd work is he's so dynamic because he could tell these great intricate jokes. He's got that gay edge, and his crowd work is so smooth. And it's one inflection. It's like one note, really. Like it's not like he's playing this range. His voice is up here and out here. It's one straight thing, but so many things happen in that one line, that one straight inflection line. That it is some great shit. And to me, it's like, I
love that.
Everything. He really represents this young Austin scene well, because what it is something that's different, and it's new, and it's fresh, and it's boundless. And it's like, you can only see it here right now. And he's going to be famous and be everywhere. But like for now, this is where it happens. And shout out to this dude, Dylan Sullivan. I don't even know his Instagram or anything like that. But yeah, he's like one of my favorite guys right now.
I'll have to get him on the podcast.
Oh, I mean, I'll tell him. Yeah, dude, he's a very lovable kid that is fucking killing it and has great jokes. But that would be mine to answer your question. The Dylan Sullivan.
Okay,
what if I actually tried vagina joke? I don't know what he calls it.
And last but not least, because Paul Mooney would always close his sets with street jokes, but he would Mooney-ize them. So when Mooney went into street jokes, you knew he was wrapping up, because we do 3 hours, 4 hours. So and I loved the way he would just murder with street jokes, and I love a good street. They're hilarious. So do you have a go-to?
Yeah, it's so funny because I don't have a go-to, and I'm trying to remember because Tony Hinchcliffe loves street jokes, and he hasn't, for some reason, he's got a bunch of Jewish. He loves Jewish street jokes. It's so odd. But if he was here, he'd rattle off 5 already. He loves them. Like when it's
hilarious,
quiet, and we're all sitting in a circle, he's like, "All right, so this Jew goes into," and he just I don't.
But that's.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I really don't have one.
Do you want one for Tony? Do you want one for Tony?
Yeah, tell me one, and I'll let him know.
Here you go. A priest and a rabbi are sitting on a park bench in Central Park.
Okay.
And a 12-year-old kid goes by on a skateboard. The priest says to the rabbi, "Man, I'd sure like to fuck him." And the rabbi says, "Out of what?" Thank you. We'll be here all week.
That's exactly one. He's got a ton of those. That's exactly. It all has to do with money and fucking people over. Yeah. It's great.
Oh yeah. I love it. All right, Matt. I love you. Tell everybody where they can find you on the socials, and if there's any shows coming up you want to plug.
When does this come out?
It'll be out on. Let me look at the date. It's in a week. On the 12th, February 12th.
All right. Well, that's a little bit. I got some this weekend that I needed to promote, but that's all good. I'm around. I'm in Austin right now, so I do all the shows out here. So you could catch me at Mat Edgar right there, Matt with 1 T, EDGAR on Instagram, and I'm out here. Come hang.
Come hang with Maddie Matt. I need to come out and visit too. I need to get out there.
Of course you do. You love this shit.
See everybody. I would love it. I probably wouldn't want to go home.
That's what happened to me. I came and visited, and now I'm here.
Yep. That's what happens. You're the best, Matt. I'm so glad you're on, and I love you to pieces. And
I love you, Christy. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. And I got to see more of you, brother.
You will. I'll be out in New York this year.
Okay, good. All right. I love you. Right. And that's our show, everybody. Don't forget to follow the podcast at Old School New School Comedy on Instagram. And you can follow me as well at Christy Miller Comedy. And we love you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the show. We love you.